Hi, this is Mhairi and this is my vlog. And today we're going to talk about networking because I'm about to go to a conference for a few days and networking is going to play a part. So I am just going to go through a few things that I've learned and that I find helpful, and it is by no means, I have to say a disclaimer, the handbook of how to successfully network, but this is how I have worked it out. So hopefully these are a few things that you may find helpful too. When I first moved to California 6 years ago, I had a small sandwich bag full of money and a few names and a bit of paper. So I had to basically construct my life from that. And that meant I ended up going out a huge amount and networking in order just to sort of get a feel of the place. For 6 months, that's basically all I did. For lunch, for dinner, parties, events. And most of those times I was alone, or I might know one person, the person that organized it, or maybe I went with someone. But I had to basically navigate that world on my own. So my first bit of advice is to buy a hat. I mean, I wasn't even into hats, I have to tell you, before I came to LA. But I inadvertently spent $7 on a black beret, and that beret was the best investment I made in my career, almost. I mean, that might be a bit of an exaggeration. Anyway, it's a very good thing, because if you go to somewhere on your own, having a distinctive piece of clothing like a beret or a necklace, shoes to some extent, but they're a bit trickier because obviously someone needs to look down at your feet, but your hat, people notice that, and that is an amazing icebreaker. People will come up, I mean, with the beret, people thought I was French. So, you know, it's a good conversation starter. So I would say buy a hat. Secondly, for me, I never go with an agenda. I've been to events before with people who have been like, okay, let's try and get 5 business cards by the end of the first hour. And that doesn't work for me, because I feel that immediately paralyzes me and stresses me out and makes me feel, well, just under pressure, basically. And for me, I think you should network without an agenda, just to have a nice conversation. You never know where that conversation might lead. And essentially, for me, it's just about making relationships without thinking, what can I get from you? Do you know, that's too much pressure and I freeze up and I can't really be myself in that. And I think the most important thing is to be yourself, because you never know what might happen. I mean, I went to the Playboy Mansion when I first got here for a big party, and I was standing in line waiting for some food, and I slipped on a shrimp and I went flying across the path and fell into a producer. And then we became very good friends, and I could have never rehearsed that. I could not have had that on my agenda. Let's try and fall into somebody by slipping on a shrimp. First of all, dangerous, because I could have thinged my ankle, but I didn't, it's all right. But you never know, You might meet the person at the valet. You were waiting for the valet, and that could change your life. So I go without an agenda. The next major thing, so this is point 3, I would say, is to be your best self. So that means, like, you know, to be well rested, to do your yoga, to be balanced, so that you can be really you without feeling tired or stressed or anxious. And that also, I would say, pay attention to what you wear, because you want to feel confident. So whatever that is today might not be the same as yesterday. So maybe not have a pre-thingied idea of your wardrobe, what you wear to network, and just wear what you want to wear that day, which, you know, could give yourself that permission. I would also say you want to think about starting a relationship rather than what you can get from that person. Somebody said to me that their best networking tip was try to network as if you're never going to have to ask that person in front of you for anything. So there you go. That takes the pressure off, straight off. It's more authentic. And if you are a little bit, I don't know what point we're on, maybe 4 or 5. This is a new point. Think about if you are nervous or anxious or feel worried about going into events and you're never really sure what to talk about, I would say ask the person in front of you questions, because primarily people like to talk about themselves. Maybe compliment them. That always makes somebody smile and warms them to you. I mean, obviously, this needs to be authentic. You can't sound that you don't mean it. If you don't really like their scarf, then don't try and say it, because that might be a weird moment. But just, you know, try and say something authentic and just listen. You don't need to say anything. People like to bang on about themselves. They do tell you. And the last thing I would say, I think this is point 6, never take out your cell phone. Unless obviously there's an emergency, you need to phone 911. I would thingy that there. But bringing out your cell phone is an automatic barrier between you and the rest of the world there. I think it could be a nervous habit from some people, but I would try not to do that, because you are in fact, you're disappearing. As soon as you take out your phone, you're no longer in the space, and you never know what conversation or what meeting you may be missing, because you're putting up a thing and you're essentially finding Facebook more important than the people in your room, which, yeah, I don't mean to judge, but I would say try to avoid the cell phone thing. I think even smoking, you know, in this day of social, at least you might speak to another smoker, but a cell phone person, you're just invisible. So there you go. And I will leave you with a quote that I think I might butcher just now, but along the lines of, what are you going to do with your one wild and precious life? And I think networking should be an extension of that. It shouldn't be, oh, now I need to go into a room and try and work the room and play the room and get my next whatever. No, just bam, this is your life. And it should be as exciting, and also give yourself permission to leave after 10 minutes. If you don't like it, go. No one needs to stay there for 10 hours trying to do something. If it's not working, get out of Dodge. Anyway, what do you think? Let's start the conversation.